Hello everyone. Uh, this is the continuation of chapter current electricity. So today is the last subtopic of this chapter. The subtopic name is galvanometer. So we will see what is galvanometer, what is an ammeter, and what is the voltmeter. Then the difference between ammeter and voltmeter. Okay, so let's start the subtopic. So galvanometer is a device used to detect weak electric currents in a circuit. Okay, it has a coil pivoted between two concave pole faces of a strong laminated horseshoe magnet. So in the diagram you can see, okay, so this is a horseshoe magnet. Between this there is a iron core along which there is a rectangular coil. Okay, so coil is of shape rectangular. It is wound on a iron core. Iron core is a cylindrical rod, small cylindrical rod. Okay, this rectangular coil has n number of turns. Okay, and here this is a scale. So when current flowing through the coil, due to the current, this iron core with the coil gets deflected as this pointer is attached to coil. As coil deflected, then pointer will also deflect. So deflection, here it is written, when electric current pass through the coil, it deflects. The deflection is directly proportional to current passing through the coil. So the deflection of this pointer depends on deflection of coil, and deflection of coil depends on the current flowing through it. So more current will flow, more will be deflection, and it will give the higher reading. Okay, this is the working of galvanometer. A galvanometer can be used as an ammeter. Ammeter is a device which measures current, and voltmeter, this is a device which measure potential difference. Okay, the galvanometer coil has a moderate resistance of about 100 ohms. Itself has a small current carrying capacity that is approximately equal to 1 milliampere. Okay, let's see the working of galvanometer as an ammeter. So I have a notes here. So how the galvanometer can be act as an ammeter. Okay, let full scale deflection current of galvanometer is here. This is shown as is, but it is Ig. Okay, okay. So full scale deflection of current of galvanometer, and G is the resistance of galvanometer. Ammeter is a current measuring instrument. It is always connected in series with a resistance R, through which, let's see the diagram. So this is a circuit uh, where we have to determine the current through this resistance R. Okay, so galvanometer is connected in series with this resistance R. Let's see the requirement to convert a moving coil galvanometer into a meter. In the circuit, Ig is the current through galvanometer. Okay, and R is the resistance through which we have to determine the current. Okay, and this whole box is a ammeter. So in ammeter, as a ammeter is a current measuring instrument. So for ammeter, effective current capacity must be more, and effective resistance of galvanometer must be decreased. So in ideal case, an ammeter has zero resistance, or just remember, for an ideal ammeter, the resistance is zero. But practically, if say an ammeter has a low resistance, so there is a MCQ question in exam. An ideal ammeter has zero resistance, and a practical ammeter has low resistance. So how to get the low resistance across galvanometer? For this, we are connecting a low resistance in parallel with galvanometer. So in the circuit you can see, this is a galvanometer's resistance. Across it we are connecting a low resistance as a shunt. So what it does, the current, as ammeter should measure the current through this resistance R, should not draw any current. Okay, so should not cause a loss of current. So we have connected a low resistance across G. So the current I gets divided. I is the required current uh, to be measured by an ammeter, or it is a required range of current. Ig is initially the current through galvanometer. Now the current through ammeter will be what? I equal to Ig plus Is. Okay, so it is by Kirchhoff's current law. So this current I is a total current of ammeter, Ig is the current of galvanometer, or it is also called full scale deflection current. So how the calculation is done? To convert a galvanometer in ammeter, we will require this low resistance. So how this S can be calculated? Okay, let's see in my notes. So this is the same circuit as shown here. So G is the galvanometer. We have connected a low resistance S in parallel with G. The current I gets divided as Ig and Is. So in parallel, we know that voltage is same. So voltage across G will be equal to voltage across S. So by Ohm's law, voltage across G will be Ig into capital G, and voltage across S will be Is into S. By Kirchhoff's current law, I is divided as Ig plus Is. So this is the derivation to find out the low resistance. Because by connecting this low resistance, we can convert a galvanometer into ammeter. This is a 2 marks question up to find out the shunt resistance value. So this is simple one. Just replace here Is, because we don't know the shunt current. We initially know the galvanometer current. So replace Is with using this equation I minus Ig, put here, and in this way you can get shunt resistance. Okay. So this is your first formula. Let's solve this equation, this formula. Okay, cross multiplication and get this formula. This is called as fraction of current. Ig is the smaller current compared to I, because total I is the total current of ammeter or required range, and Ig is the full scale deflection current of galvanometer, or maximum current can flow through galvanometer. Here capital I is greater than Ig, so it is a fraction. So this ratio is called as fraction of current flowing through galvanometer. What is the formula we get? S upon S plus G. Similarly, as here we replace Is with I minus Ig, and solving this we get this formula. Now replace Ig from this equation, Ig equal to I minus Is, and solve. You will get the formula for fraction of current flowing through shunt. So this is the third formula. First formula to find out shunt resistance. Another formula is fraction of current through galvanometer. So just remember the formula. Whenever there is a fraction of current through galvanometer, in numerator comes shunt, and denominator shunt plus galvanometer resistance. And whenever a question asks for fraction of current through shunt, then in numerator there is a galvanometer resistance, and denominator is same, S plus Z. Okay, this is the third formula. Okay, if in exam asks, so if initially the galvanometer's maximum current range or full scale deflection current is 10 ampere, 10 milliampere, and we want an ammeter of 1000 ampere. So how much times we want the range should be increased? So we will divide 1000 ampere upon, or I upon Ig, we will get the n, how much times we want to increase the range of galvanometer. So put this I equal to Nig, this I equal to Nig in this equation, we will get the required shunt. So this is the MCQ question. S equal to G upon N minus, where N is how many times the current must be increased to get a meter of range I. Okay. Okay. So these are the four formula. Okay. Let's move ahead. Let's see the problem in the book related to this ammeter. So a galvanometer has a resistance of 100 ohm, means capital G is given. Its full scale deflection current is 100 microampere, means Ig is given. What shunt resistance should be added so that the meter can have a range of 10 milliampere? This 10 milliampere the required range. That means it is a capital I, and shunt resistance you have to find capital S. So you can directly find out. You have given capital I and Ig is given, just find out this n, you will get the 100 times range to be increased. You have a shortcut, Your formula you have derived is put here, you will get the required shunt resistance. No need to solve this problem by using this equation, that shunt one, this one. Okay, use this equation directly, s equal to g upon n minus 1. What is the second formula? What is the value of shunt resistance that flow allows 20% of main current through a galvanometer? So fraction of current through galvanometer is given, that is Ig equal to 20 by 100 of I, 0.2 I. Put in the main equation and you will get the as Ig by Is equal to 0.2 by, put here, you will get II gets cancelled, the required shunt resistance. Let's move ahead. How galvanometer can be converted as a voltmeter? So in case of ammeter, we seen that ammeter has a low resistance, that's why connected. So to reduce the resistance of galvanometer, we have connected a low resistance in parallel. Always remember, to reduce the resistance of a circuit, just connect a parallel low resistance. So what happened, current, as we know that current always flow towards a low resistance, so that current, the maximum current will flow through this shunt resistance, and galvanometer draws a very small current. Okay, and the coil of galvanometer is also not get affected due to larger current. In case of voltmeter, so voltmeter is a voltage measuring instrument. For voltmeter, we are so let us see in the circuit, we have to determine the voltage across this resistance R. So voltmeter is always connected in parallel. Okay, so voltmeter should not draw any current, all current should be flowing towards this resistance. Okay, if voltmeter draws some current, then the voltage measured across this resistance R will be less. Okay, so voltmeter resistance must be high. To make a circuit high resistive, we will connect a resistance in series. So here X is a high resistance that is connected in series with a galvanometer. Always remember, an ideal voltmeter has infinite resistance, and practical voltmeter or just a voltmeter has a high resistance. In exam it comes in a MCQ, an ideal voltmeter has infinite resistance, and if it is written as a practical voltmeter or just a voltmeter, then it has a high resistance. So this is also the simple circuit, and capital V is the required voltage range, and Ig is the current through the galvanometer, or it is sometimes given a Vg, or just you can see here in my notes, Ig equal to Vg by G. Okay, so here these high resistance I have taken as RH. In the book it is taken as X. Okay, so you can take your own syntax RH. So this is a series resistance. In series, we know that voltage gets added. So total voltage V equal to voltage across this high resistance plus voltage across this galvanometer resistance. So you have to determine this high resistance. So just put this term on the left hand side. You will get RH. Okay. So this is your first equation. Okay. Here, this Ig can determine by voltmeters voltage upon its resistance. So just put here, this G come will above, and V by Vg. Here V by Vg, V is the required voltage and Vg is galvanometer voltage. So required range to be increases and time n equal to V by Vg. So here this V by Vg becomes n. Okay, I just kept G as a common. Okay, so this is your formula for if the range is given. Okay, these are the two formulas. First formula is to find out the high resistance, which is high resistance, or series resistance, which must be connected in series with galvanometer to get as a voltmeter circuit. So ammeter has total 4 formulae, and this is also the MCQ question for voltmeter side. Okay, so in this way, there is a question comes, how will you convert ammeter galvanometer into ammeter and galvanometer into voltmeter for 2 marks. Okay, sometimes it come with combined for 4 marks. Let's see the problem for what is the problem for voltmeter given in the book. So a galvanometer has a resistance of 25 ohm, means capital G is given, its full scale deflection current or maximum current. Sometimes wording is given as maximum current of galvanometer is, then just don't get confused with the wording. So Ig is given 25 microampere. What resistance should be added to it to have a range of 10 volt? So required voltage is capital V equal to 10 volt. So the required voltage range is 10 volt. So you have to determine high resistance. So just put the formula you have find out, RH or X equal to V by Ig minus Z. So you have also just seen this formula. So this is a simple one. What is the next problem? Galvanometer has a resistance of 40 ohm. So capital G is given and a current of 4 milliampere is needed for a full scale deflection. So Ig is given. What is the resistance? Means RH you have to find out. And how is it to be connected to convert the galvanometer into ammeter of 0.4 ampere range? So you have to determine ammeter's resistance also. So this is a 3 marks for problem where you have to convert galvanometer to ammeter and galvanometer into voltmeter. So required range of ammeter is given 0.4 ampere. So capital I is given, and required range of voltmeter is given 0.5 volt. That is you have what is given capital V. So to convert the galvanometer to ammeter of range 0.4 ampere, shunt is required. So all data is given. Just put here. To convert the galvanometer into a voltmeter at a range 0.5 volt, what is the data given? Required voltage is 0.5, Ig is given. Okay, what is Ig? 4 milliampere, capital G is given. So this is also the simple problem. So they just use the same problem. Okay, formatted that formula to get resistances. Let's see the next. What is the comparison of an ammeter and a voltmeter? It measures current, it measures potential difference, it is connected in series, it is connected in parallel, it has a low resistance, it has high resistance. We earlier see smaller the shunt, greater will be the current measured, larger the resistance, greater will be the potential difference. So no need to explain resistance of ammeter. Okay, the resistance of an ammeter, as there is a parallel circuit, shunt and galvanometer is generally parallel, so combined resistance will be, as we know that if two resistance are in parallel, then combined resistance will become as a R1 R2 upon R1 plus R2. And in voltmeter series resistance, galvanometer is in series with high resistance, that's why G plus X. Okay, so G by N, this is a how many times the range we required. Here we have to multiply the range. Okay, let's see the sum of the another term, uh, thermoelectricity and Seebeck effect. So far we have covered most of the part of chapter. So thermoelectricity, uh, what is thermoelectricity? So we know that when current is flowing through a resistor, then resistor gets heated up, or when we know that whenever a current flowing through a conductor, after some time conductor gets heated up. Okay, so here what is happening there, electrical energy is converted into heat energy or thermal energy. So Seebeck is a scientist, he thought that if electrical energy can be converted into thermal energy, then there must be a reverse process also. Thermal energy can be converted into electrical energy. So he discovered uh, the effect, the effect is called thermoelectric effect, the conversion of thermal energy into electrical energy. So he connected two different metals, okay, and kept these two metals at different temperature, and observed that a small EMF is induced in small EMF is produced, not induced. Okay, because the galvanometer shows a deflection. So this EMF is called thermo EMF, and the effect is called Seebeck effect or thermoelectric effect. And the pair of dissimilar metals forming junction is called thermocouple. So an example of an antimony bismuth thermocouple. For this thermocouple, current flows from antimony to bismuth at cold junction. And for copper iron, the current flows from copper to iron at hot junction. This effect is reversible if we interchange the metal. Okay, or if we interchange the hot and cold junctions are interchanged. So the value of EMF, thermo EMF produced in this thermocouple can be given by for this formula. If the cold junction is maintained at 0 degrees Celsius and hot junction is maintained at T degrees Celsius, where alpha and B are thermoelectric constant, these constants will be given. Okay, so for we have covered the entire chapter. So today we have covered the topic galvanometer and conversion of galvanometer into ammeter and voltmeter. What is the difference between galvanometer and ammeter? We have also seen the what is the thermoelectric effect. Thermoelectric effect is nothing but the conversion of thermal energy into electrical energy. It is discovered by Seebeck. Okay, and the what he did, he kept two different metals at two different temperature and observed that the EMF is induced, and those pair of dissimilar metals is called thermocouple. Okay, and the formula for that thermo EMF induced. Two examples of thermocouple is given: antimony bismuth and this copper iron couple. Okay, so today's topic, let's revise the whole chapter what we have seen as a whole. So we have started this chapter with Kirchhoff's laws. So we have seen Kirchhoff's first law, also called current law or junction theorem. We have seen Kirchhoff's voltage law. Let's go to the page first. So Kirchhoff's first law, also called current law or junction theorem, sign convention, and the two statements. The algebraic sum of current is zero, and the another way of statement. Then Kirchhoff's voltage law or Kirchhoff's second law, or also called as it is what it called Kirchhoff's. It is also called as a loop theorem. So we have also seen the MCQ question. Kirchhoff's first law follow law of conservation of charge. Kirchhoff's second law follow law of conservation of energy. Then we have seen some of the problem based on solved and unsolved. We have seen. Okay, then next lecture we have seen Wheaton's bridge. What is the use of Wheaton bridge? It is used to find out the unknown resistance when three known resistances are given. So we have find this balancing condition. Okay, here can be any one resistance unknown and remaining all three will be known. We have seen the two types of problem, type 1 and type 2 on based on Wheaton bridge. Then we have seen applications of Wheaton bridge in next lecture as a meter bridge. Meter bridge is the modification of Wheaton bridge where two known resistance of Wheaton bridge is replaced by a resistance of wire. Okay, and unknown resistance is kept in a left gap and unknown resistance is kept in right gap. Then similar way we have find out the balancing condition for meter bridge. Okay, so this meter bridge experiment is also called as null deflection method. Then we have seen the problem based on meter bridge. Okay, then some of the sources of errors and sources of errors in meter bridge and then their minimization. This is a 2 marks question. Write remember 2 errors and 2 minimization. Then we have seen Kelvin's method of meter bridge to determine galvanometer resistance. This is also called as a equal deflection method. Okay, then we have seen potentiometer and application of potentiometer. What is potential gradient? Uses of potentiometer to compare EMF cell by method 1 and method 2. Method 1 is called direct method, individual cell method, or cells connected separately. Method 2 is called combination method or sum and difference method, and metals come together. Then another use of potentiometer is to find out internal resistance of cell. We have find out formula also here for sum and difference method, and for direct method is this one, and for internal resistance this is the formula, and we can replace this L1 by L2 by E1 by V here. So remember this also. We discuss all these things in their lectures. Applications of potentiometer as a voltage divider, as a motion sensor, okay, and as a audio control, okay. We have seen the problem based on potentiometer. So most of the time questions on this problem. Then advantages of potential. This is also two marks question. Advantages and disadvantages. Okay, remember two advantages and two disadvantages. And today's topic we already discussed. Let's see the questions or exercise. So we have covered all the MCQs. Let's see the questions in brief. Describe a potentiometer potential gradient. Why should not jockey be slided along the potentiometer? The answer is it will affect the cross-sectional area of wire, hence final reading will get affected. Are Kirchhoff's law applicable for both AC and DC currents? Yes. In Western bridge, the null point is operated at the middle one-third portion of why it is recommended to get the maximum accuracy. Okay. In this case, the ratio arms are nearly equal, and the end resistance of copper strips also produce least effect. Hence, the meter bridge will be most sensitive. Okay. State any two errors. We have discovered what is potential gradient. We already see on what factor potential gradient of wire depend. We have seen the formula for potential gradient. So the terms whatever involved in that formula, it depends on those. So we have covered most of the questions from the exercise. Okay, there is a two problems remaining. This question number 90 is missing some of the data. So as it is a new book, so it will have some mistake. There is one problem 13. This is also the easy problem. Let's see the answer for this question. So what it says, okay, a set of three coils having resistances, a set of three coils having resistances 10, 12, 15 ohm are connected in parallel. So connected them in parallel. Then this combination is connected in series with series combination of these three coils. So connected these three coil as in series, and then EMF of 4.1 is voltage applied. So we have to find out current this circuit. Okay, so as these three resistance are in parallel, so let's find out the combination of the parallel what is the equivalent combination. So we have solved it as a RP. We have solved here. I have solved here. So the RP. Okay, you know how to solve the parallel combination. We are getting as an answer 4 ohm. So I uh, replace this part as a RP 4 ohm, and these three resistance are in series. In series, we only added. In series combination, just add the resistance. We are getting a 37. Then these combinations equivalent and series combination equivalent are in series, and then again just add 4 ohm and this 37 ohm. What you will get 41 ohm. So voltage is 4.1 volt. Okay, so by Ohm's law I is equal to V by R. What is the volt? 4.1 volt. Total resistance is 41. So you will get the current. Okay, just see the problem. This is also the easiest problem. So only one problem we have left in this topic, which has a missing some of the data. Okay, so the whole current electricity chapter is covered. Let me know in comment if you have any doubt or topic I have to explain again in a detailed manner, any problem you have not understood. Okay, so thank you for this lecture. From the next lecture we are going to start first topic from part 1. So let's see what is the first topic. So this is rotational dynamics. We will start this topic in the next lecture. Okay, so thank you for